Hello again, everyone. I'm doing a little. I decided to take a little break from the case fabrication to do a little more of the wiring on the motherboard. I did a little bit of that already. You can see here the connect. I moved that over and wired that in. What I'm doing now is I'm going to wire the audio video, and to do that, this is the cable I'm going to be using. Now I salvaged these cables from an old VGA cable because you need shielded wire for your red, your blue, and your green. And you can see that this is shielded wire. To find the points that these connect to on the bottom can be a little confusing and intimidating, but if you understand the way they're labeled, it's not that difficult. First thing you need to do is get a pin out of a header for the Xbox AV header. That's what I have right here. I got that. You can get those online. Just do a Google search. You can see the way they're numbered. Okay, and I see the one that I need that is red is 3. Okay, now let me show you how to find that. Okay, now I don't know how well this is going to show up. Let me see if I can get a good look at that without the light. Okay, I see that number 3 is right down here on the bottom, right there. And you really can't see that, but I'm going to show you an easy way that you can figure out which one is which. Let me get something to point with here. Okay. Now how you do that, now this is directly under the AV header, right there. So that's what we're looking at, right under the AV header. The way Microsoft labels these is this pin here is the bottom pin farthest to the left if you're looking at the bottom. That's number 1. The one directly above it, number 2. This one down here is number 3. The one directly above it, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's the way you count them up, starting from left to right, bottom to top, and it goes all the way across that way. Over here you got pin 15, 16, 17, 18. So now that we know that, we know where to find pin 3. Okay. Now, one of the first things you need to do before you try to do any soldering to a motherboard like this is protect your motherboard. You don't, solder will splash, and if you get a piece of solder splashed over onto your motherboard somewhere else, you're going to have a pain. You're probably going to ruin your motherboard. You're not going to be able to fix it. So what we're going to do is put a piece of paper over it, and you're going to use some blue painter's tape. Blue painter's tape isn't very sticky, so it's not going to damage your motherboard. But be careful when you're putting it down. Don't press it down too hard. You don't want it stuck really hard to the components on your motherboard. You just want to protect your motherboard so you're not going to damage it. Okay, now that that is done, I know you're not going to be able to see that very well, and the lighting in here is kind of overpowering my camera, making it have little funny lines on it. But this is my soldering iron. Right here, right next to the paper, is pin 3. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of solder right on pin 3, just like that, right there. A little dab of solder on it. Alright, now that that's done, I know that that's red, so I've got my cable that I got out of the old VGA cable. I use the red one, and I'm going to solder that red one. Actually, that's a tad too long, so let me shorten that real quick. And what I mean is by a tad too long is I'm talking about the how much wire is sticking out of the end of the insulation. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and solder that down. It just takes a touch. Alright, now that soldered connection is made. Now I do the same thing with the other colors. Look at the paper here. You see down here on the bottom that green is number 4. So if we count the same way I showed you, if this one is 3, then the one directly in line above it, right here, just above it, I don't know whether you can see that or not, right there is 4. Actually, some of these are labeled. 3 and 4 are labeled, so they're really easy to find. But I'm going to do the same thing with 4 for green. So I put a little bit of solder right on that point. Alright. And get my... It is nice to have a set of tweezers when you're doing little stuff like this, because it's really difficult to hold the cable in the proper place. As you can see, I'm struggling with it right now, and I've got tweezers to use. Let's see. Bend you down out of the way. Get the blue back bent out of the way. Alright, now I got the green isolated where I want it. And it's a little long too, so we're going to shorten it so it's just barely got a little bit of wire sticking out of the end of this insulation. Alright, now I see exactly where I want it. I'm going to hold that in place, right like that, and that's it. Now I got the green and the red connected. Now look at the paper again, and we need the blue. The blue is pin number 8, so we're going to look for pin number 8. I know that that's 4, so this is 5, that's 6, this is 7. One right here in the middle, right beside the green then, is going to be number 8. Now I've done this many times before, so I know this method works. But I encourage you to, once you get these hooked up, to plug a VGA cable in, an Xbox VGA cable in, and test it with a continuity tester. Make sure, I forgot to add a little bit of solder to pin number 8 first. Just a tiny little bit. Okay, now get my tweezers. Alright, hold that down into place. And there you go. Now I've got the red, green, and blue connected. And the red, green, and blue, they're shielded, so they've got a shield that needs to be connected to ground. The ground is the great big wire, or great big point next to all these little ones. So I see how long I need it. Right. Like that. I see how long I need it, so I'm going to cut it off where it just touches that big point right there. So let me do that real quick. Alright. Now I'm going to add a little bit of solder to that ground point, like this. Alright, now take my tweezers, put that down into place. Once I get it where I want it, and there it is. Alright, those connections are made. Now, I'm not going to go on to do the other connections, but the other connections you're going to need with this then are going to be H-sync and V-sync. That's H-sync is 11, you can see right there. V-sync is 12. You'll need right and left audio. See, that's 16, and 15 is right. And you will also need to identify the part or the point that you'll need to tell the Xbox to use VGA, and that's going to be right there, pin 20, and that has to be hooked to a switch. Or if you're just going to use the VGA, you just put a jumper in between a ground and pin 20. And all these pins are right there under the AV header. A lot of them are numbered, but if they're not, you can use that counting method I just showed you to identify which pin it is. And once I'm done there, this is the board. Actually, this isn't one. This is one that is no good. It's fried. But this is the controller board that I use for the LCD. Once you've got all those identified down there, you look right here. There's that long row of little white dots. Well, that's where you connect the wires that you just soldered the other end of, and they are labeled what they are right up here on top. So they're easy to find. You do the same thing with that. You put a little drop of solder in each point you're going to use and wire them together. You need a good ground in this. Make sure that your drain cable or the shield is grounded on both sides. If you don't, you could get some really bad ghosting and some lines in your image when you're done. But that's about all I can do for now. If you have any questions, if you need me to clarify anything, feel free to ask. Again, I apologize for my camera, but it's because I've got a lot of light in this workshop, and it powers the camera and causes these little lines. But I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them, and thanks for watching.